So this is Michael with the CFO Classics Library, and today I get to show you a very fascinating bit of history that's something that was donated to us. This is a Webster-Chicago 81-1 wire recorder, or 80-1 wire recorder. And it was donated to us years ago along with several wire recordings. Now, they really came out like 20s and 30s. This recorder, I believe, was made in 1950. But they're really a fascinating bit of technology and a very short-lived part of recording history. Before there were tapes, like you would know the reel-to-reels, like what's playing behind me here, they were recorded on wire. Right here I have a spool of wire. This is a recording from Agnes Sanford recorded from a CFO camp, I believe Coronas, in August 10th, 1948. And it is a spool of very, very thin wire. And it records just like cassettes or reel-to-reels, but it is recorded on stainless steel wire. So the quality is very similar to like a phone call. It's very limited in its frequency range. But it's kind of an amazing thing, and I'm going to show you more about that and show how this works. So what you're seeing here is the wire recorder kind of being loaded. It comes on these spools, and this tiny has a leader that's usually made of cotton or linen that you then attach to the take-up reel. And you kind of wind it forward just a little bit to where it starts to get to the wire just to prep it so it'll get playing. And then once you start it playing, it starts moving through. And you'll notice the little round brown thing in the middle. That's the playback head. It's going up or down, and that is to keep the wire going evenly from top to bottom of the spool, kind of like winding a garden hose or a bobbin of thread. And it's this very, very thin wire. If you ever get one into a knot, you will never get it out of that knot. So it took a lot of care, a lot of time kind of getting these things played in. And then to stop it and rewind it, you just kind of do that, and you have to kind of carefully hold it down. Sometimes you got to kind of help it a little bit along because the motors, especially on this one, are a little bit slow. But as we help it along, it eventually rewinds and you have to kind of keep an eye on it, because if you aren't there to catch it when you're rewinding, it will throw the wire everywhere and you will lose it. So it stopped. Fortunately, it stopped for me at a good spot like that, so I was able to kind of get it back off. But that's sort of how those old recorders worked, and you're going to give you a listen here so you can kind of see what it actually sounded like, because this comes with a speaker and it has tube amplifiers. That's how it amplifies the sound, and this is what they actually sound like.
It's in narrative form, that is, telling how they came to me, telling it sort of a history, as it were. So, I'll tell you how that came to me. It came to me first through a medical doctor.
So to give you an idea of exactly what it took to get this machine back to working order, when we first got it, I could plug it in, it would get power, and I could see there's a light on the front, which you can see in this photo here, that it's up above the knob on the far right, and it actually will glow green when the tube is running. When the vacuum tubes inside of it are on, it will turn that neon green. And a fascinating bit, that's actually was an indicator of your volume level, whether you had it too high or too low during the recording, because you could actually plug a microphone and record onto the wire with this as well. But it would power on. I could see the tubes would light up, and that neon light there would come on, and I could hear a hum coming from the speaker, but it wouldn't play, it wouldn't turn. So if you look here at the top, you'll see that we have the take-up reel and the place where the wire goes and the head, but you could hear it go, but then nothing would spin, and then it would start making a very, very horrible sound. So I knew to get those wires transferred, I would have to do some repair work on it. Now, this was made before circuit board technology. So it is all hardwired components just soldered together. So as I began to take it apart, what you can kind of see here down on the top is how dusty it was. It was very dusty, very, very dusty, and the grease, in fact, that you would normally see, like there's a little tiny bit of like silicone-based grease that would go between those, was completely dry. So all the wire levers, because everything, when you push start, it is controlled just by mechanical switches and springs moving. There's no digital anything connecting anything. So it was a just physical switch in and of itself. And here's after I got the case off of it. and you can kind of see the components in the inside. It's really split into two parts. There's a front part on the right that has the speaker attached, and then the back side has the vacuum tubes, and there are resistors and capacitors all inside of this machine driving it. Now, I was very fortunate that the motor still worked on it. If you look here, you can see a close-up as I started to get them separated. I had to take a lot of photos because I didn't. Fortunately, I was fortunate enough to have a schematic, but it would not. It was very difficult. I had to be very methodical in how I did this. It's like a giant puzzle, because the challenge wasn't like circuit board repair. The challenge was getting all the components swapped out and in there. You can just see in the next couple photos here the jumble of resistors and capacitors and soldering. Like these are around the vacuum tubes, the bottom end of the vacuum tubes that you have to go through. And fortunately, like I said, I did have a schematic. This is what it looks like. That schematic is still available today from Webster-Chicago. Not them themselves, but there are people that sell that and the repair manual itself that you can find online. So I was very fortunate there. But I got them separated, and you kind of see what I started to look at here. You'll see two silver cans right here. Now, those are actually canned capacitors, and we're very fortunate that there's a company located in Iowa that does custom manufacture those canned capacitors to the specifications. And since I had the sheet where I knew all of my specifications I needed for those capacitors, I was able to order brand new ones of those, because the capacitors were all gone, but most of the resistors actually tested perfectly fine. And all the vacuum tubes in it actually tested good as well. And I was also very fortunate that black box you're looking in the middle, the motor that drives it, was also still functioning properly. And this is just another shot of just how dusty and unmaintained it sort of was on the inside. It had been sitting on shelves for 30, 40 years. But it was basically a job of slow disassembly, take a lot of photos, use a lot of painter's tape to mark wires and what they connected to, and very sort of methodically go through and begin to desolder and resolder it back together. And so this is just me working on a couple different components, but it all in all, it took probably about a solid month to get this done, and around $300 to $350 in parts and materials, and ended up getting a few tools that I didn't have before that I needed to make it work and make it work well. But all in all, we very happily got it back to working, and we're able to start recording and transferring these messages to digital, which you're able to hear. And I will actually have a playlist on our YouTube channel for the wire recording, so you could actually go and listen to what the wire recordings are. And I'm going to put that link in the description so that you'll be able to kind of take a listen to hear what those sound like. But that's what it took to kind of get back into this machine back to working order. So that's a little about the history of the wire recorder and why we have it, and the repair process we went through to get it taken care of and so we could get this machine working again. And that's just a fascinating bit of history for you.